Elena thought she did the right thing. She warned a customer he was about to be shot. She saved his life. But she didn't know his name. She didn't know his power. She didn't know the entire criminal underworld would find out. Now she's marked, protected, hunted. And one man will decide which fate she ends up with. Before we start, let me know where you're watching from. It always warms my heart seeing this community grow. The dinner rush at Harbour Street Bistro was always noisy, clattering plates, sizzling skillets, laughter from tables that had a little too much wine. But that night, something felt different to Elena Rivera the moment she stepped onto the floor. The air felt heavier, like the room itself was holding its breath. She knew the regulars, the tourists, the first-date couples, and the lonely travelers who sat at the bar staring at their phones. After 3 years working there, Elena could tell who was celebrating, who was grieving, and who was lying just from the way they ordered water. But one customer always stood out. Adrian Vale. He sat at table 14 every other Thursday. Same time. Same seat. Back against the wall. Eyes on the door. He never smiled, never made small talk. He ordered a single glass of whiskey and finished exactly half his plate of food, no more, no less. His presence changed the room's energy every time. Loud tables quieted down without even realizing it. The bartender polished glasses faster. Even the chef stopped swearing for 5 minutes. Elena didn't know who Adrian was, but he wasn't normal. Normal people didn't move like shadows or watch the room like they were calculating danger. Still, he was polite to a point. A nod instead of a greeting. A crisp thank you that sounded more like an order than gratitude. He tipped well, always leaving the bills lined up perfectly straight. Tonight, he was here again, dark grey suit, coat folded over the chair, eyes sharp and unreadable. Elena caught his gaze as she walked by. He nodded once. She nodded back. Routine. Then the bell over the entrance rang. A man entered wearing a wrinkled jacket and dark jeans. Nothing unusual, except everything was wrong. His shoulders were too stiff. His eyes darted everywhere but never landed. His right hand stayed inside his jacket pocket like it was glued there. Elena froze halfway between 2 tables. Her brain whispered something she didn't want to hear. He has a gun. She tried to shake it off. She wasn't trained for danger. She wasn't a cop or a soldier. She was just a waitress who worked double shifts to pay her college fees. But something deep inside her, instinct, memory, the voice of her father who taught her how to read people before he died, told her she was right. She pretended to fix a salt shaker while discreetly watching the stranger. He didn't take off his jacket. Didn't sit. Didn't order. He just watched Adrian, from the bar mirror, from reflections in the wine fridge, from the corner of his eye. Danger. 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 Elena's pulse hammered. She walked toward Adrian's table, trying to look relaxed. He was studying his phone, but she knew he already sensed something. The subtle tension in his shoulders wasn't there earlier. She set down his glass of water. "Your bill will be ready soon," she said quietly. Adrian looked up slowly, eyes colder than the ice in his drink. "Everything all right, Miss Rivera?" A shiver ran down her spine. He didn't ask out of politeness. He asked because he already knew everything was wrong. "I'll bring your check," she said. At the counter, she grabbed the receipt and a pen. Her hands trembled so badly she had to steady them against the register. She wrote nothing dramatic. Nothing long. Just 3 short warnings. Shooter. 7 o'clock. Move now. Her heart pounded as she walked back. She forced her steps to stay even, her breathing smooth. Act natural. Don't panic. Don't look scared. She placed the leather bill holder on his table. "Take your time," she whispered. His eyes flicked to the paper. Then to her. In that instant, Elena felt naked, exposed, like he could see her fear, her thoughts, her entire life. He didn't speak. Didn't blink. Just tapped the bill holder once with his index finger. He understood. She stepped away, pretending to refill a nearby table's water, but her hands were shaking so hard she spilled half the pitcher. The stranger at the bar shifted his weight. His right hand began to move out of his pocket. Time seemed to stretch like rubber. Elena whispered to herself, Please, please let him see it in time. Adrian stood, calmly, gracefully, as if he were simply stretching after finishing a meal. He buttoned his suit jacket, picked up his coat, and walked toward the kitchen door without looking behind him. The stranger rose. His hand came out of his jacket. Metal glinted. Elena's breath caught. And the restaurant exploded with sound. A gunshot. A scream. Shattering plates. A wine bottle crashing to the floor. Elena ducked behind a table, heart hammering against her ribs so hard it hurt. The shooter jerked backward, eyes wide with shock, a dark patch blooming across his chest as he fell to the floor. Someone had shot him first. But it wasn't Adrian. Elena peeked up. Adrian had vanished through the kitchen door. People screamed. Servers scrambled to hide behind the bar. Someone called 911. But Elena could hardly hear any of it over the roar inside her head. She glanced down. Something small and black lay on the floor near her shoe. A card. A single emblem stamped in silver. She picked it up, hands trembling. Whatever she had stepped into, she knew one thing for certain. Her life would never be the same. The restaurant was chaos, pure, overwhelming chaos. A couple near the window was crying. A man in a business suit was yelling for everyone to stay down. A server named Paul had fainted near the dessert station. Someone shouted, "He's dead. He's dead," over and over until the manager told him to shut up. But Elena couldn't move. Her knees were weak as she clutched the black card in her hand. The shooter lay sprawled on the marble floor, his jacket open, revealing the gun he never got to fire a second time. Blood pooled around him, spreading like a dark shadow. Elena swallowed back a wave of nausea. "Are you hurt?" a coworker asked, touching her arm. I'm fine," Elena whispered, though she wasn't sure she believed it. Where did the other man go? The one who? No idea, the coworker said. He was gone before I even turned around. Of course he was. Adrian Vale didn't stick around for questions. Sirens echoed in the distance, growing louder. Police cars screeched to a stop outside. Officers rushed in, shouting orders, clearing the area, separating witnesses. Elena sat on a bar stool because her legs were shaking too hard to stand. A police officer approached her with a clipboard. Did you see anything unusual before the shooting?" Everything. She had seen everything. But she knew what people like Adrian meant when they said, "You just involved yourself in a war." She forced a shaking breath. I saw him fall," she said honestly. "But nothing before that. I was serving table 7. You didn't see the shooter pull a weapon?" "No," Elena whispered. "I didn't." The officer nodded and moved on. Her hands wouldn't stop trembling. She slipped the black card into her apron before anyone noticed. After what felt like an hour, the manager told the staff to gather near the kitchen. His face was pale, his hands unsteady. "Listen," he said. "We're closing for the night. Police say it might be a few days before we reopen. Go home, get rest, and don't talk to reporters. Tell them to talk to corporate." His meaning was clear. We pretend nothing happened here. Elena grabbed her bag and stepped outside into the humid night air. The street smelled like rain and gasoline. Flashing lights painted everything blue and red. She walked home, each step heavy. Every shadow felt like someone watching. Every sound made her flinch. Halfway home, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Keep your curtains closed tonight." Her blood turned to ice. She typed back with shaking hands. "Elena. Who is this?" 3 dots appeared. Then disappeared. No reply came. She hurried home, locking the door behind her. She leaned against it, heart racing, breath uneven. Her apartment felt too quiet. Too empty. She walked to the window before she remembered the message. "Keep your curtains closed." But curiosity pulled harder than fear. She opened the curtain a single inch. A man stood beneath the streetlight directly across from her building. He wasn't moving. Just watching. Watching her. Elena gasped and dropped the curtain. Her heart pounded so loudly she could hear it in her ears. After several minutes, she forced herself to peek again. The man was gone. She stumbled backward, clutching her chest. Okay, she whispered to herself. Okay. This is not normal. She sat on her bed, pulling the black card from her bag. It was cold to the touch. Heavy. The emblem stamped on it looked like a stylized wolf's head. No name. No number. Just the symbol. Her thoughts raced. Did Adrian leave this? Why? Was it a warning? A thank you? A threat? A dozen scenarios flashed through her mind, each more frightening than the last. She curled up on the bed, knees to her chest, and tried to calm her breathing. But the fear wouldn't leave. Not when she knew people like the shooter didn't act alone. Not when someone had been watching her window. Hours passed. She didn't sleep. At 4 a.m., she heard a car engine outside, slow, steady, crawling down the street. She peeked through the curtain. A black sedan idled in the shadows for several seconds, then drove away. She pressed a hand to her mouth to keep from crying. Her life had changed in a single moment. Not when the shooter pulled his gun. Not when Adrian escaped. Not even when she found the card. It changed the second she circled those 3 words on the receipt. Shooter. 7 o'clock. Move now. She saved a dangerous man's life. And dangerous men never forget debts. The restaurant reopened 2 days later, but something felt wrong the moment Elena stepped inside. Maybe it was the silence, not peaceful silence, but heavy silence, like everyone was trying too hard to pretend nothing had happened. The tables were perfectly set, the music was soft, the candles flickered calmly, but the air still carried the memory of panic. People avoided looking at the spot where the gunman had fallen. The staff acted like everything was normal, but their eyes told the truth: fear, curiosity, confusion. Elena tied her apron with trembling fingers. She didn't want to be there, but she needed the money. Tuition wasn't going to pay itself. She checked her section. Table 14 was empty. Adrian's table. The host noticed her staring. He's on the reservation list for tonight, he whispered, as if Adrian might hear him from miles away. Asked for you specifically. Elena's heart dropped. Do we normally take requests like that? For him? Yes. Of course. Powerful men didn't follow normal rules. The dinner shift started. Elena tried focusing on her customers, but her mind kept drifting back to the night of the shooting, to the man watching from the streetlight, to the strange message telling her to keep her curtains closed. Every time the door opened, her stomach clenched. At 7:28 p.m., he walked in. Adrian Vale. He looked the same, perfectly put together, calm, unreadable. But tonight he wasn't alone. 2 men in dark suits followed him inside and took seats near the back, scanning the room with sharp eyes. Bodyguards. Real ones. Adrian approached table 14, and Elena swallowed hard. She forced a professional smile and stepped toward him. Good evening, she said, hoping her voice didn't shake. He looked at her for a moment, studying her face with unsettling intensity. You look tired, he said quietly. Have you slept at all? How could he know that? I'm fine, she lied. You're not, he said gently, but with certainty. Sit. She blinked. I'm working. Sit, he repeated, softer this time but still a command. Something in his tone made her obey. She sat across from him, heart racing. You received the card, he said. It wasn't a question. Yes, Elena admitted. And you saw the man outside your window. Her breath stopped. How do you know that? Because my people saw him first. His people. She felt the room tilt. You've been watching my home, she whispered, her voice thin. I've been protecting it, Adrian corrected. There is a difference. She rubbed her palms on her apron. Why? Why me? I just warned you because someone was about to shoot you. Anyone would have done that. His eyes held hers, steady and cold. No, he said. Not anyone. Most people freeze when they sense danger. You acted. Fast. Correctly. You're alive because of that. So am I. Elena tried to look away, but he didn't let her. You are in danger because of what you did, Adrian continued. The man who attacked the restaurant belonged to a group called the Rourke Syndicate. They don't tolerate failure. And they don't ignore witnesses. Her stomach twisted. So I'm, what? A target? Yes. Her heartbeat was a drum in her ears. And they know who I am. They know what you look like, he said. They know you warned me. That makes you a threat to them. Elena felt faint. I'm just a waitress. Adrian leaned forward slightly. You were a waitress the moment before you wrote those 3 words on my bill. The moment after, you stepped into my world. She didn't speak. Couldn't. Adrian reached into his jacket and placed the silver keychain on the table. It wasn't the same one she found in her locker days ago. This one was slightly larger, heavier. This, he said, is for emergencies. If you are in danger, real danger, you press the center plate. 2 seconds. My team will arrive. She didn't touch it. What if I don't want this? You don't have a choice, he said calmly, but not unkindly. You are already involved. The Rorks will not forget you. She stared at the keychain, feeling its weight even without touching it. What do you want from me? She whispered. For now. Nothing, Adrian answered. Just your cooperation with my security team until the situation settles. And if it never settles? Then we adapt. Elena looked around the restaurant. Everything felt strangely distant, like she was watching her life from outside her body. Why me? She whispered again, her voice cracking. Adrian studied her carefully. Because you saw something no one else saw, he said. And because when danger came, you didn't run, you warned me. He pushed the keychain toward her. You saved my life, he said. That creates a debt. Elena swallowed. Her throat felt tight. I didn't do it for a reward. I know, Adrian said softly. That's why the debt is larger. Just then, the front door opened. A cold gust of air swept inside. A figure stepped halfway into the restaurant, helmet, dark jacket, gloves. A motorbike engine revved outside. Elena's heart froze. The biker lifted his arm. A gun flashed. Glass shattered behind them. Customers screamed, diving under tables. Adrian grabbed Elena and pulled her to the floor as bullets ripped through the window. The shooter sped off before anyone could react. Adrian didn't look frightened. He looked furious. His voice was calm but icy when he spoke to his bodyguards. They're moving faster than expected. We take her somewhere safe. Now. Elena's entire body trembled. Tonight was supposed to be normal. Now her life had cracked open again. Elena didn't go home that night. Adrian's men insisted on escorting her to a secure location, which turned out to be a sleek black SUV parked behind the restaurant with tinted windows and bulletproof doors. They offered no explanations, just opened the door and told her to get in. Inside, she sat between 2 silent bodyguards, hands shaking in her lap. Adrian followed in another car. They moved through the city streets like a convoy, not stopping at lights, not pausing at stop signs. Her heart pounded the entire ride. Finally, they pulled into a gated underground garage of an unfamiliar building. The security doors closed behind them with a heavy thud. The bodyguards led her to a quiet lounge area with leather chairs and soft lighting. It looked more like a private office than a hideout. She sat on the couch, hugging herself. Minutes later, Adrian entered. He removed his jacket, revealing a shoulder holster beneath a gun hidden there. Seeing it made her stomach flip. She'd suspected he carried one, but seeing it up close was different. It made everything feel heavier, more real. He sat across from her. You're safe here, he said. That biker, Elena whispered. He was trying to kill me. Adrian nodded once. Yes. The word dropped into her stomach like a stone. Why so soon? She asked in a shaky voice. Because they realized the shooter failed, and they suspected someone warned me. They reviewed the restaurant's surveillance footage. It wasn't hard to see you circling something on the bill. Elena's breath caught. So they know I warned you. Yes. Her hands flew to her face. Oh my God, oh my God. Elena, Adrian said firmly, look at me. She lowered her hands slowly. You are not dying tonight, he said. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Because I won't allow it. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried absolute certainty. She stared at him, tears forming in the corners of her eyes despite her efforts to hold them back. I didn't ask for this, she whispered. No one asks for war, he said softly. But once it arrives at your door, you have two choices, run or survive. And from what I've seen, you are a survivor. She shook her head. I'm not. He leaned slightly forward. You are. You proved it when you saw the threat before anyone else. When you warned me. When you stayed calm in chaos. You have instincts most trained professionals don't. Elena didn't know if he was comforting her or recruiting her, and the thought scared her even more. After a moment of silence, Adrian spoke again. You cannot stay in your apartment tonight. I can't just disappear, Elena said. My job, my roommate, my classes. I've already taken care of your shift, he said. And your roommate thinks you're working late. Your classes are covered for the next 2 days. Elena blinked. How could you possibly? I have resources, Adrian said simply. She stared at him, unsure if she was grateful or unsettled. Maybe both. He stood. You will stay in the guest suite here until I determine it's safe for you to leave. Determine, she asked. You decide now. I don't get a say. You get safety, he replied. That is more important than comfort. She wanted to argue. Wanted to yell. Wanted to tell him that he couldn't just take control of her life. But deep down, she knew this wasn't the time. Not when people were trying to kill her. She sighed shakily. Fine. I'll stay tonight. Adrian nodded, then gestured to one of his men. Show her the suite. Make sure the perimeter is secure. As she followed the guard down the hall, Adrian called out softly behind her. Elena. She turned. He watched her with an expression she couldn't read, part concern, part warning, and something else she couldn't name. This is temporary, he said. But until the Rorks are dealt with, you stay under my protection. Elena swallowed hard. You saved my life, he continued. Now I save yours. His voice held a promise she didn't know how to handle. In that moment, she realized something terrifying. She wasn't just part of Adrian's world now. He had made her part of his responsibility. And Adrian Vale did not take responsibility lightly. Not ever. Not for anyone. Especially not for her. Elena barely slept during her first night in Adrian's secure building. The guest suite was beautiful, soft white sheets, polished floors, a view of the river, but beauty meant nothing when fear sat on your chest like a weight. Every creak made her flinch. Every shadow looked like someone waiting to kill her. By sunrise, her eyes burned, her mind foggy from lack of sleep. She finally stepped out of the room around 9 a.m., still wearing the clothes from the night before. One of Adrian's men, a tall guard named Cole, stood outside her door like a statue. Breakfast is ready whenever you want it, he said in a deep voice. I'm fine, she answered, even though her stomach was empty and growling. Cole tipped his head slightly. Mr. Vale said you'd say that. She frowned. Did he? Cole nodded. He said to remind you that survival requires strength, and strength needs fuel. Elena rolled her eyes. He didn't say that. He did. And you, just listen. Cole gave a small shrug. He's the boss. She sighed. Fine. Breakfast. The guard led her down a quiet hallway to a kitchen that looked like it belonged in a luxury magazine, marble counters, huge windows, a stocked fridge. A chef waited inside, preparing eggs and toast as if this were a calm morning and Elena wasn't being hunted by criminals. Good morning, Miss Rivera, the chef said warmly. Anything special you'd like? Elena just stared. Scrambled eggs. I guess. Coming right up. She sat at the island counter, watching him cook. The smell of warm toast finally woke her appetite. A moment later, Adrian entered the kitchen. He wasn't wearing a suit today. Instead, he wore a black sweater and dark slacks, sleeves rolled up slightly. It was strange seeing him look, almost normal. Almost human. But his eyes were the same, sharp, observant, unreadable. Elena, he said, nodding once in greeting. She nearly choked on her toast. Morning. You slept poorly. How could you tell? You look like you're about to fall over, he said simply, sipping his coffee. She glared. Thank you. Very kind. It's an observation, not an insult. Feels like both. He ignored that and set his cup down. I reviewed the camera footage from last night, he said. The biker wasn't acting alone. There was a second man watching from across the street. Her whole body went cold. The same man who stood outside my window, she whispered. Yes. Fear crawled up her spine. I should have moved, she said quietly. Maybe I shouldn't go home anymore. You can't go home, Adrian said, matter of fact. And you shouldn't. Not until I eliminate the threat. Eliminate, she repeated, her voice shrinking. As in, kill? Adrian held her gaze. They're trying to kill you, he said calmly. This isn't a negotiation. She swallowed. Hard. Look, she said, voice trembling, I appreciate what you're doing, but I don't understand why you're going this far. You barely know me. Adrian studied her for a moment before answering. You saved my life, he said quietly. And in my world, that means you become part of it, whether you want to or not. She shook her head. I didn't do it to get involved in, whatever your world is. I know. He leaned back against the counter. That's why I'm taking this seriously. The chef placed her plate of eggs in front of her. Elena stared at it but didn't eat. You'll have 2 guards assigned to you from now on, Adrian continued. Cole and Davis. They'll be with you until I say otherwise. Elena pushed her plate away, appetite gone. I can't live like that, she whispered. Being watched. Followed. Guarded. You can, Adrian said. And you will, because the alternative is death. His bluntness hit her hard. She looked down at her trembling hands. I didn't choose any of this. No, Adrian said gently. But you chose to warn me. And that choice changed everything. He reached into his pocket and set the silver emergency keychain on the counter again. This stays with you, he said. Always. He held her eyes with a seriousness that made her throat tighten. If anything happens, Adrian said, press the center plate. It will alert my closest team. They will find you. Fast. Elena stared at the keychain. And what happens when your protection ends? She asked. Adrian didn't answer right away. His jaw tightened for a moment. Then we deal with that when the time comes, he said. Suddenly, Elena felt something shift inside her, not comfort, not safety, but the strange realization that Adrian wasn't just protecting her out of obligation anymore. Something else was forming between them. Something neither of them wanted to name. Before she could think about it too deeply, Adrian stepped back. There's someone you should speak to, he said. He's waiting outside. Who? Detective Marlowe. Her stomach dropped. The police. Outside the kitchen, Detective Marlowe leaned against the hallway wall with a tired, annoyed expression. He wore a wrinkled suit and carried a notepad. Elena, he said in a low voice. We need to talk. Adrian didn't hide his dislike. Make it quick. Marlowe ignored him and focused on Elena. You've had an interesting week, he said. Shootings, strange men outside your apartment, windows smashed. I told you I don't know anything, she said. Marlowe's eyes narrowed. You know something. Maybe not everything, but something. She clenched her fists. I'm not lying. Then why is Adrian Vale protecting you? The detective asked. He doesn't help people. He uses them. Adrian stepped forward, voice cold. Watch your tone. Or what? Marlowe shot back. You'll make me disappear like the others. Elena felt tension crackle like electricity between them. I'm warning her, Marlowe said, his voice lowering. Not you. Ha. He looked at Elena again. You're in danger, Marlowe said. Real danger. Not just from the Rorks. From anyone connected to Vale. People associated with him don't stay in the middle. They either fall with him, or fall because of him. Elena swallowed. I'm not associated with him. I didn't choose any of this. That's the thing about him, Marlowe said quietly. People don't choose him. He chooses them. His words struck a deep chord she didn't want to explore. Marlowe stepped back. Call me if you need help, he said. Real help. Not the kind that comes with strings. He handed her his card. Adrian silently plucked the card from her hand and tore it in half. Elena gasped. What are you doing? He's trying to recruit you, Adrian said coldly. Into his investigation. Into his obsession with me. Recruit me? I'm not even. He wants leverage, Adrian continued. And you're convenient. Elena turned on him, anger sparking through her fear. You can't control every part of my life, she snapped. You don't get to decide who I talk to. Adrian didn't raise his voice. Not every part, he said. Just the ones that could get you killed. She stared at him, breath shaking, unsure whether to scream or cry. His jaw softened. Elena, he said quietly. I'm not your enemy. I'm the only reason you're alive. Those words hit harder than they should have. She hated that they were true. That evening, Adrian made a call she didn't understand at first. He spoke in low tones, pacing the length of the living room. Yes, approve it. No, she doesn't know yet. She'll be notified tomorrow. Elena watched him, confusion growing. When he hung up, she asked, Who were you talking to? The university, he said. My university? Yes. You have a scholarship now. Her mouth fell open. A what? Adrian, I didn't ask for that. You need to reduce your work hours and focus on school, he said. The scholarship covers tuition, textbooks, and fees. I don't want your money. It isn't from me, he said calmly. It's from a foundation. A legitimate one. The board approved it this morning. Elena shook her head. Why? Why would you do that? Because you shouldn't have to choose between survival and your future. She stared at him, speechless. Adrian held her gaze with quiet intensity. I invest in people who matter. Her voice came out barely above a whisper. What if I don't want to be part of your world? His expression didn't change, but something unreadable passed through his eyes. Too late, he said softly. The moment you saved my life, you became part of it. Elena felt her breath catch. Fear twisted with anger, with confusion, with something else she didn't want to name. Her life was no longer her own. She was marked, protected, and trapped. All at the same time. Elena woke the next morning in the guest suite to find a neatly folded set of clothes on the dresser. Jeans, a soft grey sweater, socks, and new sneakers. A note sat on top. Breakfast at 8. Meeting at 9. AV. She held the note in her hand for a long moment, feeling strange. A part of her wanted to tear it up. Another part of her, one she didn't want to admit existed, felt safer knowing Adrian had thought about her day. She sighed and got dressed. Downstairs, Adrian was already seated at the kitchen island, reading a newspaper. Cole stood nearby like a silent wall. Elena, Adrian said without looking up. Sit. Eat. She sat across from him, eyeing the spread of food the chef had made. Toast, fruit, eggs, coffee. She took a sip of the coffee because she desperately needed it. You're quieter today, Adrian observed. I'm processing, she muttered. What part? All of it. Adrian folded his newspaper and set it aside. We have a meeting at the university, he said. To finalize the scholarship. She nearly choked on her toast. No, I told you, I'm not accepting that. You don't have to accept it, he said calmly. It's already approved. That's not how scholarships work. It is now. She stared at him, furious. You don't get to control everything. I'm not controlling everything, he said calmly. Just ensuring you don't sink under the weight of 2 lives at once. She pushed her plate away. You're manipulating me. I'm helping you. You're trapping me. Adrian leaned forward, voice firm but not unkind. Elena. Listen to me. She glared at him but didn't walk away. The Rorks want to eliminate you. Detective Marlowe wants to use you. You are stuck between 2 worlds you never asked to enter. She didn't argue. You need stability, Adrian continued. Something normal. Something that belongs to you. And the scholarship is that normal thing. It's what allows you to keep your future, he said. Not lose it. Elena felt her anger crumble into something tired and helpless. Why are you doing all this? She whispered. His answer came with surprising honesty. Because you're the first person in years who didn't want anything from me. The room went silent. Elena didn't know what to say. Before she could respond, Cole stepped forward. "Sir," he said, "Detective Marlowe is downstairs." Elena's heart jumped. Adrian's expression hardened. "Why?" "He wants to speak with Miss Rivera." Elena stood abruptly. "I'll talk to him." Adrian blocked her path. "You won't." "Yes, I will," she said firmly. "You don't own me." His jaw flexed. "He's dangerous." "So are you," she said. He froze. Cole watched them silently, tense. Finally, Adrian stepped aside, but just barely. "5 minutes," he said. "And I'm staying in the room." She ignored him and followed Cole downstairs. Detective Marlowe waited in the lobby, leaning against a marble column. His tired eyes lit up when he saw her. "There you are," he said. "I've been trying to reach you." "She's fine," Adrian said behind her, voice cold. Marlowe ignored him. "You didn't come home," Marlowe said to Elena. "You didn't call. No one knew where you were." "I was safe," Elena answered. "Safe?" He scoffed. "With him." Adrian stepped forward. "Choose your words carefully." Marlowe held up a hand. "Look, Elena, I'm not here to fight him. I'm here to warn you." "About what?" she asked. Marlowe's voice softened. "People who get close to Adrian Vale don't stay in the middle," he said. "They get pulled to one side or the other. And either side means giving up your life." Elena felt something twist in her chest. "He's already pulling you in," Marlowe continued. "Scholarships. Security. Decisions made for you." She looked away. "It's not like I asked for this." "That's exactly why it's dangerous," he said. "He's creating a world where you depend on him. Where you need him." Adrian's jaw clenched. "That's enough," he said. "No," Marlowe said firmly. "She deserves the truth." He turned to Elena. "You can still walk away," he whispered. "But not if you wait too long." She felt the weight of those words settle over her like a shadow. Adrian stepped forward, placing a hand on her shoulder, not forcefully, but protectively. "Elena is under my protection," he said. Marlowe's eyes hardened. "And that," he said quietly, "is exactly the problem." He walked out the door without another word. Elena stood frozen between two worlds, neither of them safe. Adrian spoke softly behind her. "You're not trapped," he said. "You're being protected." She turned to face him, her voice trembling. "Sometimes," she whispered, "those feel like the same thing." Adrian didn't respond. He didn't deny it. He didn't walk away. He just looked at her with a quiet intensity that made her realize the truth. She was already too deep. And there was no going back. The invitation came the next afternoon, delivered by one of Adrian's guards, a simple white envelope with her name written in clean, sharp handwriting. Elena Rivera. 7 p.m. Adrian Vale's residence. Her stomach dropped as she stared at it. Dinner. At his home. Not just a conversation. Not just an update. A private dinner. She knew instantly this wasn't casual. "Do I have to go?" she asked Cole, who waited silently by the door. "He asked personally," Cole replied. "It's strongly recommended." "In your world," she murmured, "strongly recommended means do it or else, right?" Cole didn't answer. That told her enough. By 6 o'clock, she was sitting in the backseat of Adrian's car, the city rolling by in blurred streaks of gold and gray. The driver didn't speak. Cole sat beside him. Another guard followed in a separate car. It felt less like going to dinner and more like being transported to another world. They drove through Savannah's outskirts, past tall oak trees draped in Spanish moss, quiet streets, and old houses with wide porches. Twilight turned the sky into shades of lavender and rose. Then they pulled into a long driveway lined with lanterns. At the end stood a large historic estate, white columns, sprawling gardens, and a balcony overlooking the river. It was beautiful. Peaceful. Which somehow made it more terrifying. Adrian waited on the veranda, wearing a crisp dark suit without a tie, sleeves pushed slightly up. He looked relaxed, except for his eyes, they were even sharper than usual, watching every shadow. The moment Elena stepped out of the car, he came forward. "Thank you for accepting the invitation," he said. "Did I really have a choice?" she asked quietly. His lips curved in something like amusement, but brief, fleeting. Come inside, he said. The foyer stunned her. Crystal chandeliers, antique rugs, warm lighting that softened every sharp corner. But what caught her attention most were the hidden cameras tucked into decorative lamps, motion sensors disguised in carved wood, and reinforced window frames. A beautiful fortress. A place built not for comfort, but protection. This way, Adrian said, guiding her toward the dining room. The table was set for two. Silverware polished to a shine. Candles flickering softly. Fresh flowers in a tall vase. I thought there would be staff, Elena murmured. They set everything up earlier, Adrian said, pulling out her chair. But tonight's conversation requires privacy. Her heart thudded. Privacy. A private dinner. A man like him. She sat slowly. He took the seat opposite her. A chef entered silently, placing plates in front of them, roasted salmon, wild rice, seasoned vegetables, before disappearing again. Adrian waited for her to take her first bite. She took a small forkful, her hands trembling. You're nervous, Adrian said. No, she lied. I'm terrified. At least you're honest. She set her fork down. Why am I here, Adrian? He didn't answer immediately. He looked at her for several long seconds, studying her face with quiet intensity, as if deciding how much truth she could handle. Finally, he said, there are things you don't know. Things I didn't want to tell you unless absolutely necessary. He exhaled slowly. But the situation has changed. Elena felt her stomach tighten. What situation? Adrian clasped his hands together, elbows resting on the table. The Rourke Syndicate has identified you. Her breath caught. What do you mean? He leaned forward slightly, voice low. They know your face. They know you warned me. They know you ruined their operation. And they know you're under my protection. Elena's fingers tightened around her napkin. How? She whispered. How could they possibly know that? They pulled footage from the restaurant, Adrian said. From street cameras. From a bus stop nearby. They pieced together enough to understand what you did. She felt sick. So they're coming after me. They already tried, Adrian reminded her. The biker was only the beginning. She swallowed hard. How many more? At least 4 confirmed operatives, Adrian said. Possibly more. She gripped the edge of the table. What do they want? To kill you, Adrian answered bluntly. Or capture you. Either one sends a message. Elena pushed her plate away, feeling like she might vomit. Adrian watched her carefully. You're not alone in this, he said. I won't let them get to you. Why? She burst out. Why are you doing this? I didn't ask for your protection. I didn't want it. No, he said quietly. But you earned it. She stared at him, stunned. I don't understand, she whispered. Adrian lifted his water glass and set it down slowly. My world doesn't operate on kindness, he said. It operates on debt. And I owe you a profound one. Elena shook her head. I didn't save your life for this. I didn't save you to join your war. I know, he said. And that's exactly why I can't let harm come to you. Silence fell between them. Heavy, charged. After a moment, Elena forced herself to speak. So what happens now? Adrian's jaw tightened. You stay under my protection until the Rourkes are handled. And how long is that? A day? A month? A year? She felt dizzy. I can't hide forever. You won't, he said. But for now, you must. She took a shaky breath. Is that all? No, Adrian said softly. There's something else. He reached into his jacket and pulled out the emergency keychain. You found the hidden number in the first one. Good. But this one is more advanced. He set it in front of her. It connects directly to my private security channel. Used only in life or death emergencies. When you press it, you don't hide. You move. You survive. My team does the rest. She pushed it back toward him. I don't want to be part of your world, she whispered. His voice dropped to barely above a breath. You already are. Tears filled her eyes before she could stop them. I didn't choose this. Adrian looked at her with a softness she'd never seen before. No, he said. But you chose to save a life. And sometimes, kindness brings consequences. Thunder rumbled outside. Lightning flashed. Rain began slashing against the windows. Adrian's expression hardened suddenly. They're on the move. Elena's heart lurched. Who? He stood, pulling a small black device from his pocket. My security team just saw movement at the perimeter. Her blood went cold. Movement, as in attack. He didn't answer. He didn't have to. The storm was about to get worse. The rain hammered the windows so hard it sounded like fists pounding on glass. Adrian moved with frightening calm, swift, silent, focused. He pressed a button under the dining table. A sharp click echoed through the house. What was that? Elena asked, her voice shaking. Lockdown, Adrian said. Doors and windows are now reinforced. Her breath caught. You have a lockdown system? Yes, he said. And we're going to need it. Footsteps rushed down the hallway. Adrian's security chief, Marcus, appeared, short of breath. Sir, Marcus said, we've confirmed it. 3 SUVs stopped at the south access road. At least 8 armed men heading toward the estate. Elena felt all the blood drain from her face. Oh God, she whispered. Adrian remained perfectly still. Positions, he asked. Cole and Davis are in the guardhouse. 2 more on the west lawn. 1 on the roof. Good. Funnel them east. Marcus hesitated. Sir, that puts Miss Rivera in the middle. Adrian's jaw tightened. I'll move her myself. Go. Marcus ran. Elena's legs wouldn't move. Fear held her frozen. Adrian stepped beside her. Come with me. She shook her head. They're here for me, aren't they? They're here for both of us, he said. But they won't reach either. You don't know that. He met her eyes, calm, steady, cold. I do. He held out his hand. Trust me. She stared at his hand, then at his face. And despite everything, she took it. He guided her through a hallway she hadn't noticed before. A bookshelf slid open, revealing a narrow passage with dim emergency lights glowing along the walls. What is this? She breathed. Prohibition-era tunnel system, Adrian said. Upgraded. It leads to the boathouse. Another rumble shook the estate, this time not thunder. Gunfire. Screams. Elena's body locked with fear. They're inside. No, Adrian said. They're breaching the outer defenses. He checked a small monitor mounted inside the tunnel, showing surveillance feeds of men in dark tactical gear moving across the lawn. Elena covered her mouth, horrified. They're everywhere. They're sloppy, Adrian said. Predictable. They think I'm cornered. Her voice trembled. Are you? A small smile touched his lips even now. No. He pointed to a screen. Look. They're following a standard breach pattern. Left flank, right flank, center push. Textbook. She blinked. She had studied this in her criminology classes. Though seeing it in real life made her chest tighten. They're assuming you're in a fixed location, she murmured. Yes, Adrian said, impressed. Go on. So, she swallowed. A sudden variable would throw them off. Something unexpected. Adrian raised a brow. Such as. She hesitated. Calling the police. He stiffened. No. Listen, she said urgently, they're not prepared for law enforcement. They're prepared for you. If the police arrive, the Rorks retreat. They can't afford open conflict. Adrian's eyes narrowed, considering it. You're smarter than you think, he said. This isn't about being smart, she whispered. It's about staying alive. He stared at her for a long moment. Then nodded. Marcus, he said into his radio, make the anonymous call. Yes, sir. Another explosion shook the estate, closer this time. Elena flinched. Adrian put a steadying hand on her back. We're leaving, he said. Now. They continued down the tunnel until they reached a small underground boathouse. A sleek black boat waited, engine already humming quietly. Marcus stood beside it. Sir, police scanners confirm they're responding. ETA 2 minutes. Good, Adrian said. Move. Elena stepped onto the boat, gripping the railing tightly as it rocked gently beneath her. The moment Adrian boarded, Marcus pushed them off. Gunshots echoed in the distance. Sirens wailed closer and closer. Elena collapsed onto a bench, shaking all over. Adrian sat beside her, rain-soaked hair falling across his forehead. "You did well," he said quietly. "I'm terrified," she whispered. "And yet you still think clearly," he replied. "You saved lives tonight." She shook her head. "You saved mine." Adrian looked at her with an expression she couldn't read, something softer, something dangerous. "We saved each other," he said. The boat carried them down the dark, stormy river, away from the estate, away from the gunfire, away from everything she had ever known. Elena watched the lights fade behind them. For the first time, she understood with absolute clarity. Her old life had ended the moment she circled those 3 words on a receipt. Now she was in Adrian's world. And there was no turning back. Rain hammered the river as the boat sliced through the dark water, wind whipping Elena's hair across her face. Every muscle in her body shook, not from cold, but from the weight of everything happening at once. Behind them, faint flashes of blue and red lights glowed like ghosts in the storm. Police sirens echoed in the distance, swallowed by thunder. Adrian stood at the front of the boat, gripping the rail, scanning the riverbank with a watchful stillness that made her chest tighten. Even soaked and shadowed, he radiated control like nothing could touch him, not even death closing in. But Elena saw what others wouldn't notice: the tension in his jaw, the slight tremble in his hand, the way his eyes kept darting back toward her when he thought she wasn't looking. He was worried. For her. She sank onto the bench, hugging her arms around herself. Marcus, gripping the wheel, called over the wind, "We should reach the lower marina in 10 minutes. "Make it 5, Adrian said. Marcus didn't argue. The boat surged faster. Thunder cracked overhead, making Elena jump. Adrian turned immediately. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head, voice shaky. "I'm just overwhelmed." "That makes 2 of us," he said quietly. She looked up sharply. Adrian Vale, who never revealed anything, who acted like the world bowed to him, had admitted something close to vulnerability. He stepped closer, crouching slightly to meet her eyes. "Listen to me," he said. "What happened tonight was not your fault. You didn't choose this fight." "No," she whispered, "but I feel like I'm dragging you into danger." Adrian's expression softened. "I was born into danger, Elena. You didn't drag me anywhere. If anything," he paused, searching for the right words. "You've made me think differently, act differently." Her heartbeat kicked. "Is that bad?" "It's new," he answered. "And new is dangerous for a man like me." Lightning flashed across the river, illuminating his face, the shadows under his eyes, the small cut near his temple, the soaked hair sticking to his forehead. The unstoppable man looked human. And for some reason, that scared Elena more than the gunman. She swallowed. "What happens when the Rorks realize the police were called?" "They fall back," Adrian said. "They hide. They deny involvement. They act innocent. And then they regroup." Her breath caught. "To attack again. Eventually," Adrian said. "But now they know law enforcement is directly involved. That complicates things for them." Elena rubbed her arms, trying to warm herself. "So we aren't safe. We're safer than we were 15 minutes ago." He tilted his head, studying her. "But no, we are not safe." The boat began to slow as they approached a dimly lit private marina. The storm eased slightly, leaving the air heavy with rain and river mist. Marcus cut the engine. Adrian extended his hand to help her up. She hesitated only a second before taking it. His grip was warm, steady, grounding. They stepped onto the wooden dock, rain dripping from their clothes. A black SUV waited at the end of the pier, headlights glowing faintly. Just as they reached it, Elena stopped. She couldn't hold it in anymore. "What now?" she whispered. "Where do we go from here?" Adrian turned toward her, rain rolling down his jawline. "Now we negotiate new terms." "What terms?" "You're no longer just an asset," he said softly. "You're an ally." The word hit her like a storm of its own. "I don't know if I want to be an ally," she whispered. He stepped closer, his voice low. You already are. Her chest tightened painfully. Adrian, I didn't save you to be part of your war. I know, he said. But the moment you warned me, we became connected. Your survival affects mine. Mine affects yours. He touched her shoulder gently. Elena, I'm not asking you to become someone you're not. I'm asking you to stay alive. And right now, that means staying with me. She looked away, blinking fast. I don't want to lose myself, she said quietly. Adrian's voice softened. You won't, he said. I won't let you. But a small part of her wondered if losing herself had already begun the moment she picked up that pen in the restaurant. Still, she nodded. Because right now, survival mattered more than anything else. They got into the SUV. Marcus took the front seat. Adrian sat beside her in the back, close enough that she could feel his warmth despite the storm. As the car pulled away from the marina, Adrian leaned back and closed his eyes for the first time that night. Elena watched him, this man who could kill without blinking, yet spoke to her like she mattered more than power or fear or responsibility. She didn't know what they were to each other now. Not yet. But she knew one thing. Whatever came next, they would face it together. They drove through the early morning fog as the storm clouds drifted away. Dawn slowly touched the river, turning its surface gold and burning red, the colors of sunrise and danger mixed together. The SUV rolled into a private marina neighborhood far from the city center. The area was quiet, almost peaceful, birds chirping, leaves dripping from the rain, the world slowly waking. Where are we? Elena asked. A safe house, Adrian said. The house looked simple from the outside, a one-story river cottage with pale blue shutters and a wraparound porch. But Elena didn't miss the cameras tucked under the roofline or the reinforced windows disguised with white trim. Inside, the space was cozy. Warm. A fireplace. Wooden floors. Soft rugs. It felt nothing like the estate. More like a place meant for breathing. For healing. This is one of your houses? Elena asked. Adrian nodded. It's off all public records. Only my inner circle knows about it. And you're trusting me with this? He gave her a look. Elena, if I didn't trust you, you wouldn't be here. She didn't know what to say, so she looked away. After a few moments of silence, he motioned for her to sit at the small dining table. He sat across from her. Elena, he said, your life is different now. But that doesn't mean you lose your future. My future, she laughed weakly. You mean the one where I study criminal psychology? How does that even make sense now? It makes perfect sense, Adrian said calmly. You're talented. You see more than most people. You think quicker. You analyze danger before it hits. She shook her head. That doesn't mean I want to be in the criminal world. And I'm not asking you to be, he said. I'm asking you to be smart. To use your instincts. To protect yourself. To learn. His voice softened. I'm offering you a chance most people never get. She narrowed her eyes. A chance to work for you? He paused. Eventually, yes. Her heart dropped. Adrian. But not now, he said quickly. Not until you finish school. Not until you decide for yourself. Not until you choose it, not because of fear, or pressure, or danger. She stared at him in surprise. You're not forcing me? He looked offended by the idea. Elena, the only loyalty worth anything is the one freely given. Her breath caught. Because in that moment, she realized something dangerous. Adrian didn't see her as a burden anymore. He saw her as a potential equal. A partner. A future. She leaned back, overwhelmed. So what happens next? She whispered. Adrian folded his hands on the table. Next, he said, you rest. You stay out of sight. My team handles the rorks. And after that, she asked softly. He held her gaze, steady and unflinching. After that, he said, you return to school. You start the scholarship. You prepare. For what? She asked. For a future, Adrian replied, where you are not running. Her throat tightened. A future with you, she asked before she could stop herself. He didn't smile. He didn't look away. His voice dropped to a whisper. If you choose it. The room suddenly felt too warm, too quiet, too intense. Elena broke eye contact first. She stood and walked to the window, watching sunlight break through the clouds. The river sparkled gently, pretending the night's violence hadn't happened. Her old life, the simple one where she worried about tips and exams, felt like a faraway dream. She turned slowly. Adrian, are we safe now? His reply was honest. Brutally honest. No, he said. But we're safer. She nodded. So this isn't over. No, he said. This is only the beginning. Elena exhaled shakily. I don't know if I'm ready. You are, he said firmly. You proved it tonight. She laughed softly. By panicking and almost fainting? He stepped toward her, stopping a few feet away. By thinking clearly when it mattered, he said. By staying alive. By helping me save your life and mine. A strange calm settled in her chest. Not peace. Not safety. But purpose. Something she hadn't felt in a long time. She looked up at him. We make a good team, she said quietly. Adrian's eyes softened, just a little. The best, he said. Silence stretched between them, warm, electric, heavy with something unspoken. Then Marcus entered the doorway, voice urgent. Sir. We have an update. Adrian turned. Report. Marcus hesitated. The Rorks. They're regrouping already. Elena's breath hitched. How soon? Adrian asked. Marcus swallowed. Soon. Very soon. And this time, they aren't just coming for her. Elena felt the floor tilt under her. They're coming for you both. In that moment, as sunlight touched the river and danger crept closer again, Elena understood one thing with clarity she couldn't deny. Whatever war this was, whatever battle was coming, she wasn't just caught in it. She was part of it. And standing beside Adrian Vale, for better or worse, was exactly where she was meant to be. Thanks for listening. If you want the full journey, the danger, the secrets, the unexpected alliances, subscribe and stay close. We're just getting started.